Hello students, a very good morning. So students, in last class we were discussing the pressure variation problems for the hydrostatic case, and in the case of hydrostatic, first we have seen that how the pressure is changing with depth and some numerical problems based on that. So I think that is all clear now. Let's start to discuss again the next topic and the numerical for that one, and that is for the Pascal's law. So some of the numerical, let's see first of all on that, and then we will go further. And as Archimedes principle is now deleted from your syllabus for this current year, so here as in the revision class we will not discuss that. As in classes also we have seen already Archimedes principle, we have seen very detailed laws of rotation. But as here for the revision we will not go for that. So next the first question for the hydraulic lift we have, that is, in a car lift, compressed air exerts a force F1 on a small piston having a radius of 5 centimeter. So we have two pistons here. Suppose piston A and piston B we have, and this piston B is the smaller or A is the smaller piston, suppose that is, and B is larger piston. So for the smaller piston, the radius is given, R is given 5 centimeter to us. Next one, this pressure is transmitted to a second piston of radius 10 centimeter. So here the radius for this piston is 10 centimeter. The force applied on the piston A, that is now F1. Next one, if the mass of the car to be lifted is 1350 kg, means here we have to lift the mass or a car that is of the mass 1350 kg. So we have to calculate the force F1 first. Then question is given, what is the pressure necessary to accomplish the task, where we have to take Z is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. So let's solve now this problem first, as this problem is saying if we are applying some force on the smaller piston, this A, that is the force F1 on this radius, then that time, as Pascal's law is saying, when gravity effect is neglected, then this pressure will be transmitted to other region. So if the pressure will be transmitted, then definitely this will apply the same pressure on this second one piston. So we can use now the Pascal's law to calculate this F1. So as according to Pascal's law, pressure at A, that should be equal to pressure at B. It means that the force per unit area for A, that should be equal to force per unit area of B now. So from here we can calculate easily the value of F1. So this will be now F2 into A1 upon A2 from here. Now F2 is what? F2 is the weight of the car that is to be lifted here. So weight of the car, that can be calculated as mass into gravity, 9.8. Now here this is A1. A1 can be calculated by the radius, that is pi r square, and pi will be cancelled out for both one. So we can write it r1 square upon r2 square. Now we can put the values of r1 and r2 also. So this is 1350 into 9.8 into here r square, this is 25, r2 square will be 100 from here. If we will solve this one, then easily we can calculate the value of F1, that is obtained to be after solution 1470 Newton. So this is answer for a question, very simple concept based question, that is pressure is equally transmitted in the liquid whenever there is the neglection of the gravity effect. Now the second question we have, what is the pressure necessary to accomplish this task. So pressure that we have applied at first piston, that is the necessary pressure to accomplish the task. It means that here what the pressure is applied to give the particular force to this one, so that we can just lift this car here. So that is pressure is equal to force upon area from here. Now here force we have just now calculated, this is 1470 Newton, and area is what now? Pi into R1 square. So this is 25, and also you can convert it into terms of here meter square. So this will be 10 to the power minus 4. Now after that, if you will solve this whole of the equation, then you can find out the pressure that is needed to accomplish this task, and this is obtained as 1.87 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So this is the answer for this particular question. Now let's see the next question. So the second question for the same we have for Pascal's law, that is now two syringes of different cross section without needles filled with water are connected with a tightly fitted rubber tube filled with water. So diameters of a small piston and larger pistons are 1 centimeter and 2 centimeters respectively. So I think this is now clear. We have taken two syringes that have different cross section. So one of the syringes will act as just a smaller piston, and one will as the larger piston. And here we have just filled it with water, and then with a tightly fitted rubber that is filled with water, we are applying some of the force now. So here first question we have, find the force on the larger piston when force of 10 Newton is applied to the smaller piston. So first question, let's solve it. After that the second question we will see. So first let's write the data that is given to us. It is given that the diameters of the pistons are, so suppose diameter for the smaller piston, that is D1, and diameter for the larger piston, that is D2 now. So D1 is given as 1 centimeter, D2 is given as 3 centimeter, not 2, 3 centimeter respectively. After that again one thing is given to us, that is we are applying a force 10 Newton. So it means on the first piston, that is smaller piston, 10 Newton is applied. So we have to find out what is the force applied at the second one. So easily you can find out because Pascal's law is saying when gravity field is neglected, so pressure at first piston should be equal to pressure at second piston. So it means that P1 should be equal to P2. We can write from here again F1 upon A1, that should be equal to F2 upon A2 from here, and F2 can be calculated as F1 into A2 upon A1 from here. Now the value of F1 is what? That is 10. Value of A2 by A1, that will be again pi r square upon pi r square. It means here R2 square upon R1 square from here. Now let's put the values of R1 and R2. So you can also just convert it into terms of diameter of, so as you can write R2 by 2 or D2 by 2, here D1 by 2, and that will be also cancelled. It means it can be written as D2 square to the D1 square. Now finally we can put the value and we can find out the force F2. So F2 is obtained as 10 into D2 square, that is 9, and D1 square, that is obviously 1. So it means 90 Newton, that force will be applied on the second piston from here. Now let's see the second question of this particular question, that is the smaller piston is pushed in through 6 centimeter. How much does the larger piston move out? So as in Pascal's law, some of the limitations we are taking, the liquid that we are taking is ideal liquid, means that is incompressible liquid. Also that liquid has no viscosity. So it means whatever the work we will done on the first piston and whatever the pressure we will applied on the first piston, that pressure equally will be applicable to the second one without any dissipation of energy. So if energy is not dissipating, then what will be the work we will do for the first piston, that should be equal to work done on the second piston. Means work done on the first system, that should be equal to work done on the second system. So work done for the first one that is suppose W1, and for second one that is W2. So if the force that is applied on the first piston is F1 and it is displaced through the displacement L1, and second one the force is applied on the second piston, that is F2, and displacement is created L2. So from here L2 can be easily calculated. So as F1 we have, that's value is 10 Newton, upon F2 we have 90 Newton into L1 is given that the smaller piston is pushed in through 6 centimeter now. So we can convert it into meters, and now if you will solve it, that will provide you the value of necessary displacement, and that is obtained as 6.7 mm from here. Means the larger piston will move only 6.7 mm because of the larger force that is needed to displace the larger mass there. So these are now the two problems that can be asked on the basis of Pascal's law, and I think that is completely clear. So let's again see the next problem that is based on the surface tension. So before starting the problem, as up to this topic only we have revised also. So let's do revision only on the surface tension topic, and let's solve some conceptual problem first. So for the surface tension, first we need to know intermolecular forces of liquids. So as liquid, you know, that is containing number of atoms, molecules, and that molecules like the water is made up of large number of molecules, H2O molecules, you know that. So that H2O molecules, one molecule is interacting with other molecule, and that interaction is known as intermolecular forces, and that forces is responsible for the construction of the even liquid or fluids. So here if we will plot the graph for the intermolecular forces with distance, how they are just changing whenever the molecular separation, means the distance between two molecules is changing, how they are depending on that. So for that one, if the graph is plotted, suppose on this axis we have taken the force that we have got, and on this one this is distance is taken. Now whenever the graph is plotted, this graph is obtained in this manner. This kind of graph we have got from here. Now we can see in this graph, if from this distance we will see this is representing, then this is the distance between two molecules. So at this distance, nearly the intermolecular forces between two molecules is 0. So it means that at this point, if two molecules are lying, then it means two molecules will not interact with each other. They are not under influence of anyone. But whenever the molecular separation will start to decrease from this value, means suppose this value is x1, this is now x2, and this is where we are seeing here the maximum value in negative direction, suppose this is x3. So when value starts to decrease from the point x1, means distance is less than x1, or that time we are seeing that graph is going in negative direction, means it is starting to increase. So this increment is showing that force is negative, and force is negative, it means that force is attractive in nature. So it means two molecules starts to interact with each other and they start to attract each other, and due to that their intermolecular separation will start to decrease. Continuously when molecule will start to decrease its intermolecular separation, and it will come to the point x3, means at the distance of x3 we can see it will have the maximum value of force of attraction. So it means up to a certain distance the force of attraction started to increase from x1 to x3, but after x3, when again intermolecular separation starts to decrease, means molecules are trying to come closer to each other, then that time this force of attraction will again start to decrease, and at a point x2 it becomes 0. Means there is a point when two molecules that are coming closer to each other, they will start to feel 0 force. That is, at that point they are in stable condition, neither they are feeling any kind of attraction force or repulsion force. But when that separation again starts to decrease, means the distance between two molecules become less than this x2, then that time their energy or the forces acting on them, that will become repulsive. So that's why two molecules cannot collide with each other to destroy each other, but here they will start to repel even when they will come closer to each other. So this is now the way in which the intermolecular forces are working with distance. Now these forces, if we will see how they are varying. So their variation is not following here gravitational law or inverse square law. They are varied as inversely proportional to r to the power 7 and r to the power 9. So that's why we can see here, in comparison to inverse square forces, these intermolecular forces are more rapidly changeable with distance. So these are known as van der Waals forces. We are calling the forces responsible to bind to molecules of liquids that are called as just van der Waals forces. So this is now the concept of the intermolecular forces in liquid. After that, the next topic we have, that is cohesive and adhesive forces. So as two molecules have intermolecular forces, they are binding with each other by these two forces, and that's why due to the bonding of the force, they try to just bind their molecules. They don't try to interact with any other surface. Then this kind of force means the force between the molecules of the same substance, like water we have. So H2O molecule is interacting with H2O molecule, then that time this kind of force is known as cohesive force. When we are keeping the water on glass surface, then that time if the force is acting between water molecule and glass molecule, then that is known as adhesive force. So adhesive forces are acting between two substances, while cohesive forces are acting between only one substance. Next one after this, the next topic that we should need that here or revise, that is the molecular theory of liquid. So molecular theory of liquid, as it is saying that obviously in liquid we have number of molecules, and that number of molecules that are showing some different property when they are just putting in any container, or they are just pouring somewhere, or sometimes you have seen the shape of the liquid drop, that is just like a spherical. So why this shape we are getting, that we can understand by this molecular theory. In this molecular theory, it is saying that every molecule has its own sphere of influence. So sphere of influence is what? If a molecule A we have, and here one more thing, whenever we are trying to talk about the molecule, then that time we are neglecting its shape and size. We are taking it just like the point mass. So here a point mass molecule we have, but as molecules are attracting any other molecule up to the certain limit, just like the graph we have seen. So up to certain limit it will attract any other molecule, then that time obviously here if any molecule will present, so up to the distance when the two molecules can interact with each other, that distance is known as this radius of sphere of influence, or also we are calling it molecular range. So this molecular range is showing that if any other molecule will come in this between this distance, then that time this molecule A will interact with that molecule. So similarly we can draw the molecular here range, or we can take the molecular range as the radius, and if we will draw a sphere, so this will become the sphere of influence. Means in this whole of the sphere, if any other molecule will come, so a molecule will interact with that one. So this is now the concept of a sphere of influence. But if we will see inside the liquid, here suppose the liquid is filled up to this level, inside the liquid whatever the molecule is present, number of molecules are surrounding it. So the force of interaction applied by that molecule, that can be cancelled out easily. So no net force will be applied by the molecule A or on the molecule A. So it means inside the atoms or molecules are not applying any forces. But when we will come to the concept of this top force or topmost layer, in this topmost layer, suppose there is a molecule for which sphere of influence we have drawn. So for if sphere of influence we have drawn, suppose for this molecular range we have drawn a film here. So this film is known as, that is also called topmost layer, that is known as surface film now. So this is denoting that up to this one only molecules can be here. Now in this section, if this is again a molecule B we have, this molecule is also interacting with each other, every molecule that are present here. So we can see again this is going to cancel out the forces in every possible direction. So no net force is contributed due to B. But whenever any molecule that is lying above this B, then that time we can draw again the sphere of influence for this molecule. In this sphere of influence, if downward force you will see that will be greater than in comparison to the upward forces. So it means that here a net downward forces we will get due to this one, because this force is not here any component to cancel out it. So it means net downward force will start to act. Again, similarly, a molecule that is lying at the surface, then that time this molecule is only contributing the force in the downward direction. This is the sphere of influence for this molecule. So the topmost surface molecule or the surface film molecule, they are now responsible for the different phenomena, and that different phenomena is known as surface tension. So this is now the first of all molecular aspect, how the molecules are interacting with other molecule, why liquid is showing something different property. Now let's understand the surface tension property by this one. So first of all, surface tension is what? The tendency of any liquid molecule or any liquid to minimize its surface area is known as surface tension. So why they want to minimize it? So here reason is that if you will see from the molecular theory, so as we can see it on the topmost layer of the liquid, that starts to apply some net force in downward direction. So due to this downward directional force, the surface will start to go in downward, means now the liquid will start to minimize its surface area due to these forces. Now in this minimization, if it have to retain its potential energy, or also it has to just go for the minimum potential energy so that this force will not break its own shape, then that time it needs to acquire minimum surface area. So as spherical bodies have minimum surface area, or a sphere in all known geometrical shape has minimum surface area, so they are acquiring just that shape. So this is the reason behind why the liquid droplet or other small droplets we are seeing just like the small drops or spherical drops. So this is the now surface tension, and this is reason behind it. Now as surface tension is defined as force acting per unit length now, so we can have now numerical problem also based on this. So this is now the concept of surface tension, that is clear. So let's now solve some conceptual problem based on the surface tension first. So now very first question we have, that is a razor blade can be made to float on water. So what forces act on this blade? Is Archimedes principle applicable here? So if somewhere suppose this is a container where liquid is present, on this liquid surface a razor blade is kept in this way, so that is made to float, it will never immerse in water. So whether the Archimedes principle will applicable here, means Archimedes principle means the buoyancy will act or not. So first of all, and also along with that one, we have to say how many types of forces are acting here. So one of the force easily we are seeing its weight is acting in downward direction. This is the first force that is easily seen. Now the second force that we can see, and some of you will say that here buoyancy is acting. So as buoyancy will act whenever any substance will displace some of the liquid, but here as liquid is not displacing, it is made to float, it will not displace any liquid, it is not going to immerse in water, so buoyancy will not act here, thrust will not act here. So Archimedes principle is not applicable in one word. Second thing, if Archimedes principle is not applicable, then what is the force that is balancing this one? So the reaction of this one surface is balancing, the normal reaction is balancing this. One of the force is also acting, that is the surface tension of water. So as surface tension is acting in tangential direction, so in this direction it is acting. So here there are obviously three forces are acting. One is weight of the razor blade, second is reaction acted on the razor blade, and the third one is tangential surface tension here. So I think students today as some of the numerical, one conceptual problem and the discussion on surface tension we have seen, we have revised that one. So in next class again we will start our topic with the discussion on the conceptual problem, then we will go for the numerical problem also. So thank you students for